What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the FatmanStephens podcast. My name is Marcus Stevens. Marcus Fatman Stevens, excuse me. That is Chino. Did you hear him? Because he was pretty loud and he's right next to me. I'm literally just chilling here on the couch, relaxing. But I wanted to, I wanted to talk about today a very special movie of mine. Um, Actually, not very special. Like my favorite movie of all time. Just celebrated 25 years of being released. Nothing to Lose. A 1997 classic was released on July 18th, 1997. I'm recording this a day after. But it is literally 100% my favorite movie of all time. I try to watch it yearly. It's just such a classic, hilarious, just crazy movie that should not have worked, but it really did, and it started my love for a lot of different things. But before we can get started on it, it's not a lot of people talk too much about it. So I want to pull up some numbers and things and see why that is. I mean, it's 1997, so it's different. It's a different time. Movies weren't as big as they are now, where 9 movies in one year made $1 billion. Um, so let's check the things on Nothing to Lose. Nothing to Lose again, starring Martin Lawrence and Tim Robbins. It also starred a young Giancarlo Esposito as one of the villains. Um, it was pretty good. It was directed by Steve O'Derrick, who also was in the film, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I want to see what other movies he directed. He directed Ace Ventura. Oh no, I'm sorry. He executive consultant on Ace Ventura. He directed Pet Detective. He directed Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. He was a writer for The Nutty Professor. He was a writer for Patch Adams. He wrote for The Nutty Professor 2, the story only. He was a writer on Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. He directed Kung Pao. Executive producer on Joanna Man. What a movie! He's got a crazy resume. He was a writer and executive producer on Bruce Almighty. He wrote, directed, and produced Barnyard, the Nickelodeon movie. He was a writer on Evan Almighty, and he was also wrote the story for Cowboys and Aliens. So he's kind of been all over the place, it seems like, in terms of directing and writing and acting. And some of those movies that I really enjoy. Joanna Man is a crap movie. It is very horrible, but I like Joanna Man. Joanna Man is celebrating 20 years this year as well. It celebrated 20 years on June 21st. So happy 20th anniversary, Joanna Man. What a movie. We're talking about Nothing to Lose again. Released in 1997. Let's look at the box office. So it budget was 25 million. It made 44.5 million. Let's see what was released in 1997 in terms of films, and see what else it was up against. So I'm just full disclosure. I'm going on Google. I'm typing in 1997 in film, and Nothing to Lose is really is this is popular movies. It's in the top three. So it's The Game, Batman and Robin, and then Nothing to Lose. So let's see what else came out this year. Event Horizon, the original Men in Black, Spawn. Um, let's see, Mimic, Flubber, Fools Rush In. Oh man, 1997 was the year Titanic came out. Only the biggest movie, one of the biggest movies of all time, the first movie of all time to cross $1 billion at the box office. Oh man. Beverly Hills Ninja, Liar Liar, Jungle to Jungle, George of the Jungle, Scream 2, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Anaconda, Relic, Devil's Advocate, Air Force One, holy crap, Kiss the Girls, Dante's Peak, The Fifth Element, Starship Troopers, Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, Hercules, The Land Before Time, The Mysterious Island, Anastasia, Free Willy 3, The Brave Little Toaster, Holy crap! Tomorrow Never Dies, Face Off, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Con Air, G.I. Jane. Whoa! Speed 2. I'm gonna lower my voice for that one. Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery, The Bean Movie, Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag, which I watched recently. Father's Day. Whoa, Mr. Magoo. Man, '97 was a crazy movie, a crazy year for movies. Whoa! I wonder what the top. Well, obviously we know what the top grossing movie of 1997 was, which of course was Titanic. Um, but '97 has some heavy hitters, some really good heavy hitters. Goodwill Hunting, L.A. Confidential. Wow. It was also the first year that DreamWorks came out. All right, so top 10 movies of 2020 of 1997 in terms of box office. Of course, number one was Titanic. The Lost World Jurassic Park was number two with $618 million. Men in Black with 589. Tomorrow Never Dies with 333. Air Force One with 315. As Good as It Gets 314. Liar Liar 302. My Best Friend's Wedding 299. The Fifth Element with 263, and The Full Monty with 257. So I don't know what The Full Monty is. The British company. Oh, Robert Carlyle's in it. Okay. Man, '97 was a crazy year for movies. I mean, obviously, any year when you're releasing with a James Bond movie, a new Will Smith led movie, anything with Jim Carrey in it. Bruce Willis was involved in this year. And then of course you have Titanic, like the biggest, like the third highest grossing movie of all time right now. And this was the highest grossing movie of all time for 12 years until Avatar came out in 2009. You have to understand that these movies are holding on to these records for a long time. Titanic had it for 12 years. Avatar had it for 10 years until Avengers took it. And Avengers only had it for like a few months before Titanic came back. I'm sorry, before Avatar came back and got it. So that's wild to think about. 97 probably was a good year in gaming as well. I wonder. I already know 97 the video games had Final Fantasy 7. That, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. Symphony of the Night came out in '97 as well. Duh. GoldenEye, Star Fox 64, Tomb Raider 2, Ultima Online, Parappa the Rapper, Oddworld, Gran Turismo, Diablo, Grand Theft Auto, and Fallout. Whoa! That's a hell of a year too for gaming. I think that's what I should do. I think I should go. I should go each year I was born and start look at movies and video games and things that happened in those years. And I think that would be really really fun to do. I might do that. What do you guys think? Maybe I should do that in the future. Anyway, let's get back to Nothing to Lose because this is my favorite movie of all time. It's definitely I think the reason I really like this movie is because again, it's like one of the first adult movies I've ever seen in my life, and it stuck with me. But it's also a movie I find new things to laugh at each time, or I find something else that I didn't notice the first time, and you rewatch it, get repeated views, and you figure out like, oh, this was funny. I didn't see this part. Like again, I never knew Giancarlo Esposito was one of the bad guys until just recently. Until I looked at his filmography. I want to say that's like 2020, 2021. I found that out. So, um, it's just funny. It's slapstick comedy. Martin Lawrence is, um, he dominated my childhood in terms of movies that I saw. I'm trying to bring up Martin Lawrence's filmography to see other movies I watched during that time of his. Obviously, uh, Bad Boys. Sorry, Thin Line Between Love and Hate, Blue Streak. I know people talk about watching Life, but Life wasn't that big for me growing up. Big Mama's House, Black Knight, National Security. Bad Boys 2, Rebound. Like those movies right there were like part of my childhood. Yeah, yeah, yes. Rebound was a part of my childhood. It came out in 2005. I remember I left school one day and I watched Rebound, and I loved it. It's such a horrible movie though, but um Yeah, Blue Streak, in particular, Blue Streak, Black Knight, and National Security are like ingrained in my brain because we had those on DVD, and I would watch them like here and there. Um, so Martin, so you're looking at a span of Bad Boys came out in '95. I didn't watch Bad Boys right away. I was 4 or 5 when it came out. I watched Nothing to Lose like when I was like 9 or 10. Watched Blue Streak. Blue Streak came out in '99. Black Knight came out in '01, and National Security came out in '03. So there was 2 years apart for every big Martin Lawrence movie for me. Um, but Martin Lawrence is hilarious in this film. So let's just talk about the film in general. What's it about? So you have Tim Robbins, who is the main character, the main protagonist. His name is Nick Beam. He works in advertising executive. I'm trying to read some of the plot without looking at Wikipedia, but I had to get that part. Who's married, happily married. He loves his wife, and one day after work, he tries to surprise his wife, come home early, take her out on dinner because he had a meeting, and he had to cancel his dinner date. But he comes home early. He comes home and he finds his wife, who he thinks is his wife, having sex with another man. And he putting these things together. He sees his boss's cufflinks there. He thinks this is his boss, and all that. And he's depressed. I mean, what would you do if the love of your life is really just is cheating on you? You're right. So you just kind of get into a deep depression, and he's driving down the road, and everybody's cussing him out. I'm going to do my best to talk about this movie without cursing. I don't usually curse a lot. I don't want to just get anybody in church sees this or anything like that. I don't want to have a bad perception, so I'm gonna do my best without cursing. Um, so hold on. So he's going down the street. He's going down the street and everything. He's in his car and he's all upset, depressed. And he goes to the bad side of town. I think this movie takes place in L.A., right? Yeah. He's going down and he gets to L.A. Wherever he is, and he's taking a little breath at the stop sign, and all you see is a gun coming to his head. And here comes Martin Lawrence, a character his name is T. Welcome to hell, bitch! He said, "Cars, key, wallet, now!" And Tim Robbins, obviously, or Nick Beam, the character's name, he's just like, looking at him like, "Why are you looking at me like this?" And he looked at him like, "Do you hear the F what I'm saying? Look here, this is a gun. This here a gun." And just threatens him, but obviously doesn't know what Nick Beam has been through so far. So they go to this wild car chase with hijinks and everything. And during this chase, he said, "Oh, you want to?" Nick Beam was like, "Oh, you want to rob me, huh? Here's my wallet." And he throws his wallet out the window, and his credit cards and all that is just going crazy. And he's driving into incoming traffic. um, so he goes into incoming traffic. It's a big white light, and Martin Lawrence or T yells. And this is another one of my favorite scenes in this movie. I'm gonna say that probably for the whole movie. But they're driving now. He's driving to the desert. Um, hold on. Answer the message. Sorry. Um, he said you're in the desert and they're driving, and Nick Beam has this stoic look on his face, got the sunglasses on, and T's just breaking down. He starts crying. "All right, you win. Is that what you want to hear? You win." He says, "Drive me back," and he has no look on his face. And Nick Beam, I guess because there's bugs in the Arizona desert, and he has the windows open, so he does like a real like he's hitting his chin thing, and T's like, "Hey, look, man, you ain't one of those desert slashers, are you?" "Oh shoot, we are in the desert." He said, "I'm in the car with a Jason Hack killer mother effer." He said, "Please don't kill me, freaking Jason." I said, "Please don't kill me, freaking Jason." He said, "I done messed with a guy called a ride with the wrong white boy." Movie is stupid. It's just lines, like Martin Lawrence's lines, his over delivery of things in the movie just makes it funny for me. And he has such a straight man to play off of in Nick Beam, who again has experienced the biggest I don't want to say failure, but the biggest like objection to his life, where the love of his life is now he thinks is cheating on him. So he goes to the desert. He's in uh, a mental break, and he's in the desert. He gets to a diner, and he opens up the door, and T says, "Get out," and T says gladly, And he starts walking, and he starts feeling his behind. He's like, oh, he said, oh, he said, my ass is tingly. He's not even know I ask him fall asleep. It's all tingly and so stupid. So they go to the diner, and he's sitting there eating, and T comes in, and he tells him they start talking, and he's driving back to the city, and I'll overlook this whole kidnapping thing. He said, "You wanted to rob me, blah blah blah." The waitress comes over, tells him to pay, and Nick Beamer realizes he has no money because he threw out his credit cards and all his money outside the car during the chase, and so T has a few bucks on him. He pays for the coffee. They start talking, and Nick Beamer remembers he has a credit card um, in his car. So they go to the car. They fight over the credit card, and they're both beaten up by the waitress. Come back into the restaurant, and they start to talk while they're out there. Teague is probably one of his best moments in the movie here. Nick Bean tells him he said, "Why are you in the desert?" He said, "Oh, I bet you hit him with a bat." Blow! He said, "You hit that mother effer." He said, "Oh, you capped him. That's why y'all here in the desert." And then he says, and Nick Bean tells him, "Oh no, I didn't do anything. I just saw him doing, and then I left." And T looks at him like, "What a p word!" And he gives this whole really, really misogynistic, like old school mentality of the woman having to have the food ready on the table. He said, or whenever he wants to make love or have sex, whatever. He said, "You have to respect your woman." And he asked him. He said, "The monologue is so funny, it's so outdated. Obviously, I just want to put that out there. It's very outdated. It is not a 2022 mindset at all, but it doesn't make it any less funny for me." So he says, he says all this long speech, and he said, "I'm Nick Beam. Look, I'm Nick Beam. I'm the master of my destiny." He said, "And then you can get the out." That's what I told the bit. That's what I told the bit. And he's eating his eggs, or whatever, and he starts to choke him. Long story short, they go throughout the desert. T tries to rob somebody. They have the car chase with the Hicks in the desert or whatever. Blah blah blah. You're introduced to the bad guys, which are played by Giancarlo Esposito and the guy from Scrubs. I don't know his name. Michael McKean. Um, is that Michael McKean? No, John. See, I'm sorry, John McGlinny. They're the desert like robbers that they run into. That the cops are like one black, one white. They just go through them. Um, so anyway, there's some funny moments between them. Of course, when they first meet, um, they I think what happens is on the highway they see Nick Beam Nick Beam and T having guns and robbing the one of the stores. He didn't rob him. He just gave him. He told him to rip the phone out. He gave him enough money to pay for the phone and for his gas, or whatever. But they took it as they were robbing him. And there's a funny scene where the robbers are trying to rob them back. What are their names? Let me just get their names so I know. It's Rig and Charlie. Rig and Charlie. And it's a really funny scene where uh, so they're at gunpoint, and obviously Nick Bean has nothing to live for, so he's saying all these bad things to the guys, and T gets the gun, and he tells him to back up, and he said, "Give me this motherfucker now, back up before I kick you in your ass chin." Again, I'm trying not to curse. You have to watch the movie. I can't really do it justice without cursing. And he shoots their tires out, or whatever. Let's talk about some other funny scenes in the movie. I don't want to give you the whole synopsis of it all, but one of the funnier moments. It's a few funny movies I haven't talked about. Of course, I think probably the best moment from the movie, the most recognizable movie is when Nick Bean they're driving, and he has a big spider on his head, and there's this talking in the car, and Nick Beam is learning that T has more education and more knowledge than his criminal background may show. So he's like, telling him about, cameras and things like that, and he's really surprised. And So they're in the desert and he's driving, and out of nowhere, T just says, "There's a spider on your head." And he said, "What? There's a spider on your head?" And Nick is like, "Look, I'm not up with this up to date lingo. Spider on your hand. What does that mean?" He said, "It means there's a spider on your motherfucking head, man." He said, "Well, get it off, get it off." T said, "I'm not touching that. Get it off." And then of course T brings up the camera, and the spider goes from his head to his face. And I don't know if it's a real spider or not, but it always makes me cringe whenever I see the spider comes on his face, on Nick Bean's face. And then he gets up the car. They drive him to the side, gets up the car, and then the iconic song, which I only heard in this movie, had never heard it anywhere else. Scat Man plays. No, I'm a scat man. Skip it up, skip it up, I'm a scat man, and he's doing this dance or whatever. And earlier in the movie, he gets gasoline on his shoes. So there's a thing of matches nearby. He's putting his feet up in the ground, and his feet hits the match, and his feet then becomes on fire. And of course, T's recording this, and he is cracking up. Like, you know, it's the type of laughter that when us as black people like really laugh, we have to touch everything. We fall out. We do the worst, the most, and that's what T does. He's like cracking up. And one of the funniest things he says to me is just, "You got the hot foot." It just, for some reason, this makes me laugh every time. It is without question, a shadow of a doubt, it's probably the most recognizable scene. If you've seen this movie, or if you haven't even seen this movie, you probably know of the scene of the hot foot of the spider on the head. Um, so that's one of the funny scenes. Two more scenes that are really funny in that movie, or what? There's in the base of the movie, Nick Bean decides to rob his boss to get back at his boss, because his boss is the one who slept with his wife, right? So to get back at her. He just says, you know, I'm gonna stick back at her, and stick back at him and her by robbing him. So they're preparing for the robbery. So they're going to stores and they're stealing like face masks and all these other things, flashlights. And in one of the stores, they're trying to stick up this old guy, and they come in with the face mask. And T comes in there. He comes in there real aggressive, and like cursing out the old guy, telling him he's gonna blow his ass off or whatever like that. And the old guy's face, he's just mortified. And I gotta get this guy. I have to get the actor's name, Patrick Crenshaw, who passed away in 2005. Rest in peace, because I've seen him in a lot of other movies as well. As an older guy, but he was in this movie. He just looked petrified by T coming in there. "You hear me, mother?" When he got a gun to his face, and then Nick Bean, this whole like they both have face masks on, and he just this real like, "All right, fine," like this real low tone kind of, not as aggressive as the other as T's character was. And then he asked him. He said, "Henry." His guy's name is Henry. He said, "Henry, who was scarier?" He said, "Who was scarier?" And he said, "He was," referencing to T. And T just laughed. He said, "You didn't find that contrived at all?" He said, No, it was very scary." And he said, "What was scary about it?" And he said, "Well, the freeze mother effort part was pretty scary. And he led me to believe that if I moved my ass, it would be blown off." What? And he was like, "No, you were scary." He said, "No, you were really scary." And he said, "Are you just saying that?" He said, "Thanks, Henry." He said, such a stupid conversation to be having. And they're about to leave the store to get the items they need. And then there's a guy that comes into the store. And both look at T and Nick Beam look at each other. They look at each other, and they look at the cop. I mean, look at the guy, and Tim Robbins or Nick Beam just blurts out, "Freeze, sucker, bitch!" Excuse me, I just say it. I said a little bit of it, and then the guy's all scared, and Henry's like, "That was much better." Such a funny scene. Last funny scene I want to talk about. Now talk about the ending and everything. And so the last funny scene is they're in the place where Nick works. They're inside and they run into a security guard, and because they have a radio flashlight, it happens to hit up against like the dresser, or not the dresser, the desk, and it starts playing music, and the guard thinks it's the alarm clock, so he said, "Oh, it must have been an alarm." And then he proceeds to start singing a song, and he's still doing his whole form routine, and he's just going in, dancing and everything. He's sweating up a storm, and then you see the camera pans over to the clock, and it says like it's like 8:28, and the clock then turns to like 9:45. So this guy's been going at it for like an hour and 20 minutes. Hey there, lonely girl. And you see, he starts singing that. You see, T's against the wall and is looking up like, what is happening? And Nick Beam is passed out. And he sees the clock, and he eventually goes back to doing his rounds. That is actually the director of the movie in that role. Um, so long story short, Nick Bean eventually finds out that his wife did not cheat on him. It was actually her sister, who in an earlier scene, his sister said his wife said her sister was coming. So it comes full circle that it really wasn't her, and he realizes that he has more to live for, and that he has to kind of get his life back. He already had stolen money when he figured this out, so he put the money back. But T's also poor. He's a black man in America in 1997. Though he has degrees, they don't want to hire him, so he's struggling, and there's like a whole like kind of divide, and it's like there's a really powerful scene. So after Nick Beam and T kind of beat the bad guys or whatever, get the money back because the robbers steal the money from them. They have the Nick Beam and T have a fight in the car. It's a really powerful scene where T has the money, he's walking away, and Nick Beam says, "T, I can get my life back." And T kind of looks in the face. Was T's for Terrence? He kind of looks at him and he just throws the money back at him, and he said, "You forget one thing, man. I get my life back too." Basically going back to poverty, and it goes to the soundtrack and everything, and I don't know the name. I think it's called Crazy Maze. I don't know who sings the song. Desiree. I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking. They have a sound. This is back when all movies had soundtracks. Um, this soundtrack is pretty deep. It has Outkast on here, Naughty by Nature, Romeo, Quad City DJs. I mean, this has a little Left Eye, Debrat, Missy Elliott. Damn, this had a pretty creative soundtrack. Anyway, um, so that's the song about Crazy Maze plays around. Money don't make my world go round. I'm looking out for a higher ground. To a bright and peaceful place. Something like that. It's great. It's a great song. It's kind of a ending scene. T go back to his family. He realizes, he doesn't have money. He doesn't have the dreams or whatever, but he has his family. And at the end of the day, that's the most important. Um, Nick Bean goes back to his wife. His car is destroyed. It's totaled, but he's happy to see his wife. And you go to the next scene where Nick Beam is at his office, and he said, they wouldn't check the cameras if long as nothing was missing. But during his fit of rage, he destroyed his boss's statue. So they reviewing the tapes, and Nick Beam rushes to the office, and he sees everything he was doing to the cameras. He's going to the middle finger and everything. And as soon as he was about to reveal his face, which he does in the tape, it pans out or closes out, and it's the scene of Nick Beam dancing with the flames, on his feet, and he basically finds out that his job is saved, his career is saved. So you cut to the last scene in the movie where you see T and his family are at a barbecue, and Nick Beam comes up, and they kind of reconcile, and he thanks him for doing it, and he said, "Hey, I have a job here as a security head of my job. I know somebody who can run it. Do you want the job?" And of course, T plays kind of hard to get, but obviously he's going to accept. And the last scene is just them reconciling, and um, there's a scene where then you see Nick Beam is getting some mustard from the jar. It's T's mama's jar, and he's getting the mustard. It's the very last of it. She smacks a hot dog out of his hand. She smacks T, and then the movie kind of ends. And the last song is "See You When You Get There," which is by Coolio. Really good song. This is the first time I ever heard it. It's a really like what's the word? This is an inspiring hip hop anthem. It's a really smooth song. It's really clear. It's really nice, and it's not even on my playlist. I need to put it back on my playlist, but it's just really simple. I'll see you when when you get there. If you ever get there, see you when you get there. I'll see you when you get there. See you when you get there. See you if you get there. Great song. It's really inspiring. Just like a great ending song to such a uplifting movie because it has a happy ending. You know, again, because T's gonna get a good job for his family now that he's working under Nick Beam, and he's gonna make sure that he's taken care of. There's a post credit scene in this movie. Yes, a post credit scene for an irrelevant 1997 comedy. So earlier in the movie, when the Hicks, um, when the Hick or chasing is chasing T, T basically robs him. So at the end of this movie, he gets the Hick gets a. I'm sorry, the gas station attendant gets a letter in the mail, and it's the money that T stole from him, and that was it. This is basically kind of coming full circle that nobody was really hurt during the what is it called? The misadventures between T and Nick Beam from the time the movie you meet the characters to the time of the ending. Everybody gets their own happy ending, right? That's basically what the movie is at the end of the day showing you. I never knew this movie had a post credit scene to like the 2010s. Never knew until I read about it and then I looked up on YouTube. And then every time I watch the movie now, I just fast forward to the end to see the post credit scenes. But this is my favorite movie of all time. You can probably tell how much I like it by how fact I'm laughing while describing the movie, describing just some of the things of it. I really enjoy this movie. I think this may be one of the only Tim Robin movies I really have seen. Honestly, I've never even seen Shawshank Redemption. Um, to be honest with you, I haven't seen. You know, he made a cameo in Anchorman, which I recently just rewatched. But honestly, haven't seen many of his actual movies. He was in Sister Thor and War of the Worlds, so I've seen both of those as well. But I haven't seen a lot of Tim Robbins movies, so I haven't. He was in Jacob's Ladder as well. Never seen the OG version. Um, this is definitely my favorite movie of all time. Again, it's the first adult movie I have memory of watching. A rated R movie. I mean, not adult movie. That's a whole another episode of a podcast for a future date. But it's the first comedy that I really saw, and it's the first adult comedy one I've watched, rewatched, and I always find different things to laugh at, different things to appreciate, and I really just think it's one of the best interracial comedy movies. This kind of started my whole phase. I know Rush Hour came out after this, I want to say, or before this. Rush Hour came out in '98, right? So this kind of started. I don't think I saw. Yeah, Rush Hour came out in '98. So that's celebrating 25 years next year, next September. So maybe we'll talk about that when the time comes. Which made almost $250 million worldwide. Good for them. It had to be one of the top grossing films in that year, right? Let's check. Nope, they made the cut. Armageddon was the top grossing movie in 1998. Anyway, damn, only 533 million. People were going to the movies just. They weren't IMAX theaters, I guess. Anyway, yeah, it's just a fantastic movie. I highly recommend anybody who has never seen a movie just to give it a watch. You can rent it for $4, like it's worth $4 alone. Just the first half hour alone, you'll be crying. I certainly am. Every time I watch the movie, it's very funny. I laugh at the same scene over and over, even though I know it's going to happen. I just think it's a comfort movie for me as well. All my favorite movies of all time are comfort movies, and the microphone just fell into my arm. You know that's number one. Number two is First Kid. It's really another irrelevant movie. Which let's see, when First Kid came out, because I probably missed its 25th anniversary because I think it came out in like '94. So I guess I have to wait to the 30th year anniversary. I'm sorry, computer is running slow right now. Oh man, I missed it last year. The 25th anniversary was last year for First Kid. Maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll talk about that on his birthday in August 30th. And my number three favorite movie of all time is Blank Check. So Blank Check is definitely a '94 movie. It's definitely a '94 movie. I know it. Yeah, '94. So maybe we'll talk about Blank Check's 30th anniversary in 2 years. But yeah, that's it. Um, I really cannot just I cannot say much enough about how much this movie it means to me. It means to just like my upbringing as a child and everything. I highly recommend just one watch through. If you've never ever seen it, it's so funny. For me, I know this is going to be a controversial thing to say, but Martin Lawrence for me in the '90s was what Eddie Murphy was for so many people in the '80s. And I'm not saying Martin Lawrence's film work could compare to Eddie Murphy because Eddie Murphy alone had for me Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, 48 Hours, like those three alone. We didn't even talk about Coming to America or anything like that, or Boomerang or Vampire in Brooklyn, like Harlem Nights. So obviously, but I'm saying for in terms of comedy for me, Martin Lawrence in movie roles. You know, probably the same way Richard Pryor was for people of the past generation. You know, people talk about Kevin Hart this generation. You know, so that's how I feel about Martin Lawrence, and you know, I'm glad that he got his he came back in Bad Boys, Bad Boys 3, and hopefully Bad Boys 4 when it comes out when they stop playing around and you know calm down with this damn slap because we need our Bad Boys 4. So please just bring it out, please. Thank you so much. Martin Lawrence is starring in a thriller movie with John Malkovich. So I hope that is coming soon because my man got to get some work. But that's it for me. Watch the movie. It is fantastic. I might want to watch Bad Boys now 3. I haven't seen Bad Boys 3 since it was in theaters. We all saw it in theaters. The whole me, my dad, my mom, Robin, and Robin's mom all went to go see it. First time, I think the first and only time we all went to the movies together. So it's a really important memory in my heart. I think it's one of the last movies we saw before the pandemic hit. That and Invisible Man, Robin and I saw. But okay, I'm really just like rambling now. So I'm just going to end the episode here. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully those who walked down memory lane with me remembered the movie and laughed with me. If you did not remember the movie, hopefully you got a new love for Nothing to Lose. We're on all podcast channels. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Deezer, Overcast, Amazon Audible. FatmanStephens is all one word. Then it's podcast. I'm on YouTube. You're watching the video. Hello. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff on YouTube, and tell your people. I'm looking forward to what other people's favorite movies of all time. What is your favorite movie of all time? Nothing to Lose for me is mine, followed by um, First Kid, followed by Blank Check. Of course, you know what? Actually, there's one more movie I have to check because I want to see if it's celebrating. When is it celebrating its 25th anniversary? It's a Christmas movie. Jingle All the Way. I just want to see if it came out in 96, 97. Uh, what was the release date for Jingle All the Way? Because 96. So I missed the 25th anniversary of that as well. Not important, but thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next week for another episode of the Fat Man Stevens podcast, where I'll probably talk about SummerSlam previews because SummerSlam is quickly approaching. I had an idea to do a tier list between WWE and AEW of what they're doing. Judge, okay, so have a tier list between both of them and what they're doing. So wrestling, what company is S tier, A tier, B tier, things like that. That's my next tier list I'll probably be doing. And I still want to do the candy bar tier list. I'm going to be doing it eventually. Have to get some money together and to get some foreign candy bars, and we'll then do it very soon, I promise. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week on the Fat Man Stevens podcast. Thank you. Have a great night. Goodbye.